has a 100% chance of happening in the next 50 years? Story 1. At-home medical diagnosis. We're going to have testing machines or blood samplers that will tell us what's wrong, and we'll teleconference with doctors and won't have to leave our homes. Story 2. The struggle to survive with greedy companies is going to hit a tipping point. Everything is getting more expensive, while the wages we are paid stay relatively the same. It's already a serious problem, and it will only get worse, we all know this. Chances are the tipping point will be way before we hit the 50-year mark. Story 3. The GDP per capita around the world will rise after inflation, and this will lead to an enormous increase in energy consumption. This will increase demand for all sorts of energy, including both renewables and fossil fuels. In the near term, 5 to 10 years, you can expect to see coal consumption rise in the emerging world. Story 4. More disappointment. Edit. If you want to help yourself feel less disappointed, follow the link in my pinned post. It's a YouTube playlist to survive. I hope you find it useful. Story 5. Advertisements will become more invasive. You'll be driving to work and hit a mandatory road checkpoint where your vehicle is disabled to watch a 60-second ad for the NordVPN Manscaped Testicle Trimmer Slim Wallet presented by Liberty Mutual Car Insurance. Then it is enabled again and you can continue driving. Story 6. Ads will get integrated into cars, heads-up displays, and other items even if you've purchased them. You will also be forced to watch an ad at the gas pump before it will be able to deliver the gas you will also pay for. Story 7. Quantum computers will crack all kinds of encryption in milliseconds, and no password is truly safe. The only secure method would be a biometric probe that the users have to insert into their anus to authenticate any transaction. Lubricant company stocks will go to the moon. Story 8. I'm shocked no one has said anything about climate change. In the next 50 years, there is a 100% chance of the average temperature of the world going up by at least 1 degrees, of more extreme weather events such as floods, heat waves, and forest fires happening, and the rise of sea levels due to melting glaciers. Story 9. If India keep going the way they're going with Hindu nationalism, they'll have a religiously motivated civil war in the future, or at least a large and potentially volatile secessionist movement from their 200 million Muslim citizens. Story 10. Climate change becoming more disastrous and causing a huge impact on the society. Energy being a major concern. The average quality of life in developed countries becoming worse. Story 11. Maybe not 100%, but I am convinced there is at least 95% chance that we will see a nuclear warhead used offensively. I don't think it will cause a nuclear holocaust, but I do think it will change the world as we know it. I really hope I am wrong, though. Story 12. As millennials and Gen Z age into political office, it will become normal, if not expected, that their picks-off picks get leaked during every single election. Every time people on the opposite side will feign outrage about it while pretending it's not a big deal when it happens to their side. It'll go from shocking to see a president's to mundane in 50 years easily. We'll have most major politicans' junk as public domain by then. Sadly. Story 13. The will happen in 2 decades. Baby boomers and most of Gen X will eventually die and pass down their wealth to millennials and Gen Z. However, the total wealth is unequally distributed among the boomers. The wealthiest 1% own as much as the bottom 90%. So this will be a classic case of the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. Story 14. Reddit will ban someone speaking facts just because it doesn't fit the narrative of the misinformed sub. This will probably happen before this day is over. It will definitely be before the week runs out. Story 15. An American Civil War. Not saying it lightly. Encountered way too many sympathies and wants of violence from people. Aside from that, general expectation. I hope I'll be wrong. Story 16. We'll probably either get past the point of no return on climate change or the impact will be great enough that governments consider radical action on the topic. First one would be grand in a historical way. Second one, more plausible right now, could be scary. Story 17. Windows 11 will no longer be supported. All the nukes will be dismantled, we'll have a much cleaner weapon of mass destruction. The Democratic and Republican Party will switch agendas again. Millennial Democrats will hearken for their antiquated progressive ideals, and millennial Republicans will be more interested in a neo-progressive, get-the-off-earth agenda because God said so or whatever. An actor we thought was extremely wholesome and could do no wrong ends up in prison. E-commerce is the only type of commerce. Story 18. Longtime AI engineer here. 37 years since I coded my first neural network in college. AGI and the singularity. I'm most excited about near-term trends, though. AI-generated music is getting really good, really quickly. Here's some songs I've finished using Suno. Story 19. I think the uncontrolled migration and the religions will cause a lot of damage. Also, the housing problems will get bigger and bigger. The wealth, the order, and the so-beloved Western world advantages will be lost. The richer will get even richer, and the middle class will die out slowly. Only rich-poor PPL will remain. Story 20. LeBron James will flop on the court at some fake contact. Someone somewhere is going to be upset about elections and claim the results of an election show the end of democracy. Government programs will grow and waste more money. Redditors will continue to demonstrate both the best and worst in humanity. Story 21 TV will be gone. It will all be streaming entertainment. Maybe movies will be gone as well. AI will have replaced so many workers that we will either have an enormous amount of poor unemployed people, or more unlikely we will find ways to make new jobs. Small wars will be a regular thing, as we try to still hopefully not have the end-all-be-all WW3. Next 50 years will be terrifying to many people for many reasons. I really hope we do not have another pandemic to politicize. I am 51 now and sure hope I won't be here to see it. Story 22. A lot of those are more likely to happen in the next 10-20 years than 50 years, but it still applies, I guess. Neo-fascistic powers will rise in Europe with their main target being immigrants, immigration, could eventually lead to another Holocaust situation. The Palestine-Israel conflict will be resolved with help from an outside party, the US, which will bring freedom, destruction, and remove any kind of governing power that was there previously. Then instating a new government that governs the entire region. This gives America a new drone state that doesn't have the same problems Israel has currently. The housing market crash will help reset the economy and bring the current depression to an end, hopefully. The effects of climate change will become much clearer, but many will still deny its existence. It will have removed several species and habitats from existence. Many areas will be deemed unlivable due to the increase in temperatures. More and more people will leave social media apps. They'll become a relic of the past eventually. Story 23. Wide-scale food famine that affects billions of people. Tens to hundreds of millions starve to death. Why? Crop destruction is easier than complete climate breakdown. Just takes crop failures in 2 or 3 major grain-producing countries in the same year. Chinese and/or Indian rice fields, American and/or Ukrainian grain fields. Americans will probably be mostly okay because we're fat bastards, months of stored calories, and we have the money and weapons to buy or take food from others. I recommend learning how to grow potatoes in a controlled environment. Bucket inside your house, greenhouse. It is the easiest carb to grow and it tends to come back on its own. Could easily grow 100 to 500 lobbies on a small to medium patio, let alone a large backyard, tons. Replace or rotate the soil each year to avoid the pests, diseases that cause potato famine. You can just dump it in the garden and grow other things for a couple years, and then use it for potatoes again. Personally, I'm going to try to plant a few fruit nut trees, grow some table grapevines, perennial that can last decades, along the fence, and practice growing potatoes enough to grow 100 to 200 EB per year reliably, and how to store them long-term and protect them from pests. When the climate starts to get worse, I can scale up from there. The largest crop in America is lawn grass. Replace that with some food to save money and improve your food security. I wish the above was a conspiracy theory, but it is clear enough that the world governments will allow the fossil fuel industry to continue raping the climate until something catastrophic like the above happens. Starving people stop caring about corporate profits pretty quickly. Once this first starvation event happens, it will continue off and on for 20 to 30 years, after the entire world wakes up to the problem that food production is a lot more susceptible to climate change than glaciers and ocean currents. Story 24. 90% of everyone currently alive now, and alive at the 50-year mark, will be dead. AI, implemented and developed solely for the use of the elite, will have solved immortality and environmental remediation, along with other complex problems relating to turning the Earth into a paradise. For the elite. If you think they'll allow the rest of the population of this planet to share, you're wrong. If you think they'll need us or care about us, you're wrong. What of us they allow to survive will be entertainment at best. That's the future. Story 25: Donald Trump and Joe Biden will both die, and I won't have to hear about either of them ever again. Shit. I think this is bound to happen in the next 10 years. Story 26. If I was a betting person, and I don't bet on anything, shutdown of the Atlantic Meridional overturning circulation, West Antarctic ice sheet disintegration, Amazon rainforest dieback, West African monsoon shift, and the death of the Caribbean coral reefs. Story 27. AI will take your prompts and ideas and write and cast Netflix series for you, with you in it, starring, and in which you will live a virtual existence for the episode. Story 28. Some sort of another crazy world event, another terrorist attack, a plague, some Mother Nature crazy, or some discovery or a new animal that we can possibly make as pets. Story 29. American minimum wage will increase to $25 HR. Unfortunately, you'll need to be making $80 HR in order to afford a one-bedroom apartment. Bathroom costs extra. Story 30. The diminishing and eventual end of social safety nets in America. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. We will be lucky to not see drastic cuts whenever Republicans have more control than they do now, and there is no holding that off for 50 years. Story 31. The end of the American empire. No, not the country, don't worry about that. But U.S. hegemony and control over the global economy will finally come to an end.